I don't know what to say, because the indie music scene is so beautiful to me and so full of love and lovely people who are kind to each other, and yet it's also full of like co-signing things that I don't want to co-sign, or condoning. You know, it's like I felt like I couldn't openly dislike something like death metal. Like when a musician would be like, oh, sounds cool what you do. What genre? And I'd tell them my genre, and maybe I'd say about the dark piano, but also the cutesy ukulele, like kind of Mr. Rogers, kind of like I just met someone and we had this conversation, and they're like, oh, that's awesome. And I was like, what do you play? And they're like, death metal. And like, I feel like there's such a community, there's such a strength in we're all musicians, we're all in this together, that I can't in that moment go like, oh, we're not the same. Like, you're expressing something that, yes, I've had chapters in my life. The biggest one was before my grandma passed away, and she was a nun. I've had chapters in my life where my anger was so extreme. It's interesting that I'm by a shooting range right now. I'll let you hear the gunshots. My anger was so extreme that I basically told my nun grandma that that's the real person I was. I was for sure, like, I had uncovered my false personality, and underneath it was a lifetime of anger. I'm going to roll that up, because there's no reason either of us need to hear that or think about constant gunshots. Even if it's just for deer in the area. I feel for you, deer. I don't know. I'm not a vegan, but ethically I would like to be in some ways, but in other ways I understand humanity and survival, and like if anything happens in the world, like, anyway. Yes, privilege creates a lot of things. Veganism is a privilege if you're starving, but I also believe in it, and I also believe sometimes you can't get out of a cycle without making the first move. And factory farms are pretty much evil. So, and I'm not talking about farming, I'm talking specifically about like animals in a tight cage living miserable lives. Anyway, it's above my competence to talk much about. So, I just finished Whole30, and like I'm trying out bringing some foods back in, and like I'm really happy that I can eat beans again, legumes, but they make me phlegmy. That's what I've discovered. And my throat feels extra phlegmy right now. I can't eat cheese without feeling gross. I learned that one already. That one just made me immediately feel like blah. What's the other one I tried? Oh, red wine. Surprisingly, after a glass of red wine, I felt totally fine. So I don't have to be a fundamentalist about that. I'm not allergic to that. So 3 down. Tons of other sensitivities to check. Because I put on a lot of weight in 2016, and I've talked about this. I've already talked about this. You can watch the other video. I'll probably tag it. I'll put something in. You can write. It'll probably say like weight or eating disorder or emotional eating. You can just search in a search bar. Jessica and the Rainbow emotional eating or something like that. Like it'll be there. I'm trying to become more transparent about all the ways I've tried to manage all of the feeling in my body and all of the thought in my mind. So. But back to that song, and back to, I mean, it's like spiritual warfare is essentially what I'm talking about. And I know I end up sounding very biblical when I talk like this, and that's not how I previously was, but I'm basically a person who felt like they ruined their life by 17, like deeply ruined it. There were so many mistakes that I made. God didn't make me make them. I made them. God gave me an inner compass and cue to say like, don't go down that path. That one's going to hurt you. That one's going to really destroy your life. And I did it anyway. And whether I have a valid reason, like I'm a yes man and I don't know how to say no to people when they push, or I was manipulated, or, you know, or if I want to go really back, I try not to go there, but there's a video about that, you know. I'm sure you could search Jessica in the Rainbow Childhood, and there's probably videos talking about that. But much love to my mom, dad, brother, and sister. They are some of the most, I was going to say magical. They're not magical. Resonant people on the planet. And I'm nothing like any of them. And yet, exactly like all of them. And that's such a weird feeling and a hard thing to come to terms with. Being unique and weird, you know, there's no model for what I'm doing. There was no model. I'm leaving a trail, but there was no model for this that I am doing. So, if vlogging would help you, do it. Even secret vlogging, you know, save them on your computer. There's a lot of things that are like that from my life before I started being so public. Like, I probably have about 1,000 songs in my hard drive from before I started sharing them so much. A couple hundred a year since like 2008. But others before that too. Anyway, back to spiritual warfare. Why am I talking about this? Like, I guess what I'm saying is some things are dismissed in pop culture as no big deal or not real, or that it's mean to judge each other. Like, oh, it's mean for me to judge you for liking or creating, you know, death metal. But the thing is, judgment is a word that is thrown at empaths and highly sensitive persons as you're not allowed. It's as if when people say you're not allowed to judge, they're saying you're not allowed to feel what you feel and accurately perceive what you perceive. That's what I feel that has turned into. So if when I hear someone say it, or I actually hear the music, death metal, if my inner being feels repulsion because I don't relate to, or like satanic music, you know, if I not only don't relate to that, but I am repelled, if I want to like throw up cross fingers because I'm terrified of like demons coming at me or something, like if that's how I actually feel listening to that, but I'm in a public space where there's other musicians of lots of different genres and I just have to be like, and like pretend I like it in order to be supportive to all. It's one thing to be supportive to all from a distance. And let's talk about this. This is big. I stayed in an abusive marriage for 9 years because I didn't understand this topic. It's one thing to be supportive to all, including troubled people, including people with wholly different viewpoints than you, Satanists, or, you know, people who want to kill people. I'm not saying Satanists are people who want to kill people, but that would be an example of a group. Nazis, that's a group of people. I don't want to go kill them all, but I do not want to identify with them. I don't want to listen to them. I don't want to be around them. I don't want to hear their rhetoric. I don't want to give them a platform or an audience within which to try to convince me of their reasoning. I want to give them zero attention. And unfortunately, this current world we're living in is trying to delineate or relegate or mandate attention given. Well, they're valid too. And just now in the last few years, there's a newer movement in the liberal world of like, well, everyone's valid except Nazis. And it's like, okay, but there's a lot of, what about except murderers? Well, he was abused. It's like, no, you can't say that someone who killed somebody for any reason has a justifiable, well, but he was abused, if you can't also do that for Nazis. What I believe what you need to do then is learn how to say, I don't like any of those things. All of those things suck to me. That's my inner compass. All of those things suck so deeply to me that I don't want to spend any time around it. I don't want to spend thought time around it. I don't want to spend time with those people in person. And I'm certainly not going to condone it in society anywhere. Murderers, like, sorry, I am glad they are locked up. I don't believe in like rehabilitation just in a cozy room at their own house with no locks. I don't believe in that. So even if the prison system is totally corrupt, then it needs to be replaced by something else. We can't live in this weird fantasy world where we're only mad at Nazis, but everyone else has a reason. I'm being weird. I'm just saying that one because I relate to that one. Like, Nazis are terrifying. Neo-Nazis. It's terrifying to watch what people will believe is okay. So back to my original point, because I'm not trying to make a delineation between, and I'm not saying that liberals are saying murderers are okay as long as they repent. Like, I mean, that's part of what the prison system is supposed to be doing, is helping people, you know, become new people before they get out. I mean, it's terrifying. The world is terrifying. And all over the place are people making horrible choices that I don't agree with. And yet, a lot of my peers, because I'm a liberal through and through, like, I do believe in like individual growth and expression and become yourself. That's expression. And I believe in a way the other side is more like repression. Like, if I don't, like gene expression and gene repression. Like, one side believes keep expressing until you find the truth. And the other side believes, this topic's dangerous. Like, whether or not you're gay. You know, oh, well, this topic could lead to things we don't like or don't understand. So repress. And I'm picturing a little DNA chain right now. Like, that's what the other side would be, is like, well, we like our family values, or we like our things the way they are. Repress. And then this side would be like, express until you find the truth. But express could mean you're going through severe trauma and you have anger. Well, then now express is people who kill people. Like, I would rather that person represses. You see what I'm saying? Like, we can't pick and choose. We're all human, including neo-Nazis. They are expressing something, just like the liberal side is saying is so great. They're expressing something. It's just that we can all see very plainly that the thing they're expressing is horrific. So it's like, no, wait, if that's what you think and believe, maybe you should repress it. Well, that's what the other side is doing to LGBTQ stuff, which I am a deep supporter of LGBTQ rights and separation of church and state, like 100,000,000%. But the other side thinks that there's something wrong about that expression. I mean, whether they think for biblical reasons or whether just they think for nature reasons, if they think it's not natural, like maybe they don't know anything about like other cultures that used to have things like two-spirit and that's been around forever since the beginning of time. Maybe they don't know any of this and they just think it's some sort of, I mean, it's not mine to judge. It's not mine to judge. And of course I believe love is love, and of course I believe in equal rights. But I'm just saying, when you talk about expression versus repression, this is where the hypocrisy is coming in. Because one side is saying, stop trying to control us, let us express ourselves on, say, LGBTQ rights, but then is saying, but you can't express yourself when it comes to your biblical views. Or you can't express yourself when it comes to your, like, racist views, which I agree with that. Like, I don't want those people to express racist views. I think it's gross. I get that it's that maybe the liberal side believes that LGBTQ views and lifestyles are not harming anyone other, you know, it's just related to the self. And maybe they believe that the other side, being openly racist, is harming people. It's putting rhetoric in the world that can harm people. But the other side genuinely probably, I mean, I don't really know. I don't have evidence. These are just sensed things. The other side probably genuinely probably believes that the same way you think racism is social and is rhetoric that's affecting wide amounts of people, they probably believe, say they're trying to raise their kids in the church or something, and that's their beliefs, the same way you have a right to your beliefs, these are their beliefs, and as they're in the church, all of media everywhere might be promoting equal representation, including always having LGBTQ characters who are embraced. And to them, that's a version of expression that, might be similar to how you feel about them just expressing things that I don't know. I'm not saying this super well. I guess because it's gross. I'm not trying to like represent the other side so much as I'm trying to say they're saying the same things on different topics. Like, let me express myself. And the other one is like, let me express myself. And then they're also like, don't repress me. And then they're like, don't repress me. And then they're like, the thing you're expressing is bad and toxic for society. And then they're like, the thing you're expressing is bad and toxic for society, a.k.a. my children. I don't want them seeing, sex scenes, LGBTQ sex scenes that look practically like porn in mainstream TV or on YouTube, and I'm a trauma survivor of sexual things. Like, I don't disagree with the sex stuff. I don't want to see it. I can't imagine raising kids with it being all over. But identity-wise, I believe 1,000,000% in everything LGBTQ. So it's like, and private sexually, I believe in it. But I don't want to see it. And that's because of my own trauma and my own feelings. And that's me. That's my expression right now. And that's complicated. Because I'm saying I 100% support LGBTQ rights, but I do not want to witness it. Not kissing or hand-holding or love. I love love very much. But sexual stuff. So like when people say, why can't women go topless, free the nips? I unfollow people who talk like that. Because they're thinking of a society that doesn't... It's to me, that's unrealistic about what society is. Where do you think women as property or covering women head to toe maybe even came from in the first place? It's understanding. I understand this belief, this idealistic belief that men should change. Like, cool. Yeah, they should. They should stop raping women. But having that thought as a should, is that going to change all of society and go backwards and change all of human history? Or is there something in men that, and maybe some women too, that is so overwhelming, especially if they're young, that's going to lead to them making mistakes, whether it's rape or whether it's coercion or whether it's anything. I don't think women as property probably was what anyone wanted, but what if that's where it came from? Like a dad being super protective of his girl, wanting to make sure she got a partner while living in a time where if she got raped, she's considered useless. Like, that dad didn't invent that time when he was living in that, whenever that time period was. So being given away to that man who wanted her as a wife was probably a way to transfer her without her getting raped. I don't know. I'm making stuff up. But my point is, I just think sometimes we judge all of human history from the perspective of now without realizing that none of what we have now was then, And I think similarly, we judge other sides and other viewpoints from a place of understanding our own viewpoint. You have to always, when you look at other sides of things, you have to take into account, this is very easy to do. It's very easy to do. The only reason you can't do this is if you don't want to. It is very easy to do this. When another side is raging at you, saying you don't understand my point, and you don't, and they're clearly not understanding yours, you have to look at them as someone who clearly doesn't understand your point of view. You can't look at them as somebody who is understanding your point of view and just doesn't care. That is toxic, 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 and you are creating that toxicity. The idea that they would understand truly down to their core what you're saying and not care, it's not possible. If they truly understood you, they would care. But they don't understand you because they're lost in a cloud, in a fog of feeling like you don't understand them. And what I just said about them is the same thing that's true about you. You are not taking the time to understand them because you're lost in a cloud, in a fog of feeling of how they don't understand you, which is fair. But it's a fog, and it's a lie, and it's keeping us separate, and it will lead to war unless y'all stop talking about how we're headed towards war. I mean, I don't even understand this. Why did people start saying that so much? Do you not believe in law of attraction? What's this rambling language all over Instagram of like, well, the next world war? Like, that's not funny. Like, I don't think people who love people like me, Mr. Rogers types who like do uplifting, soothing work, I don't think they understand what the work is. It's don't talk like that. Don't talk like that. Don't think like that. Like, eradicate it. It starts with you. How do you eradicate it? You think the opposite thought. Anytime you think your thoughts are off, anytime you think your thoughts are toxic, anytime you think your thoughts are negative, depressing, leading to an unending feeling of despair, if you believe in people like me, if you believe in, and maybe not now that I'm being so outspoken with my views, but say you previously did. I'm trying to balance the phone better. I mean, whether you previously did or you do now believe in someone like me, like, I'm the same confused person that I always was. I'm the same all over the place. I've been an atheist. I've been an agnostic. I've been a new age spiritual. I have been into indigo children and see, but I don't want to tell you these things because I don't want to create stumbling blocks for you. That's what it was for me, is all these things made me feel powerful. They made me feel a sense of control in a world where I felt like I actually had very little control. Stupid 1111, 1111, 666 or 99666 on the odometer. Listening to sounds, hearing gunshots. Sounds the song. Gunshots. This world is dark and scary, and I act all the time in my private alone time like I'm fine. Always. Because I'm happy to be alone and feel safe and be able to control my own environment. But I'm actually not fine. You think I want to be here? What if I am some white, bright, light, happy soul descended from a star that's here to help you all to see your own hypocrisies? And then I got caught in my own arrogance, and then I had to work through that. And now I'm back, and I'm trying to be more honest. As much as it makes me feel like I'm going to lose fans or followers or lose my ability to help. What if I am all that? Well, cool. It's not fun. I'd rather just be gone and be an actual star in the sky or floating up somewhere with God and just be done. That's how it feels to try to help when people don't want help. People want answers. They don't want help. There's no answer other than just, get out of your own head or assume that you don't know everything you think you know. If your life has looked like a story, has looked like an adventure story unfolding, then that means for sure who you are right now is not correct. Unless you think you had this whole adventure story and now from here forward you're a fixed point in time and everything you know and think is correct. And it will always be true from all of. And this applies to me too, of course. It goes without saying, but I said that so I wouldn't sound so preachy and arrogant. But I'm not. This world is like awful, but we're just interpreting it in different ways. How am I a Christian who believes 100% in liberal ideology? And the only ideology I don't believe in the liberal world, is this hating hate. Fighting hate with hate. Einstein warned against that. You can't solve a problem from the same part of the brain that created it, or the same thing that created it. So if the thing that creates hate is our own brains and our own defense mechanisms, then you cannot solve the problem of hate with your brain and with building defenses. And I'm sure that made people think of like Trump walls, building a wall or something. But like, it's also ranting online as a liberal. It's also me doing this right here. Like, I can't Words can't fix this. But if you're compelled right now, then what I'm really trying to give you is the energy underneath all of this. Like, it's an emotion in me. I'm trying to win a contest called... I'm kidding, but I was gonna say, I'm trying to win a contest called The Most Wholesome Thing on the Internet, but I don't think I'd win that anymore because I got really weird in the last few months. Hard Right Turn. Here's a really sweet song that's track 8 on my next album. Well, I might release like silly ones before that, like ones that are just kind of rough. But my next studio album, my big one, they're all songs from 2014 when I fell in love with Brian Ralph. And there's a song in there for my sister, who was my anchor. The song's called Anchor. Well, it's called Anchor, parentheses, Takes a Boat. This is like, I'm not used to this weird mask wrap thing yet. I kind of like it, but I kind of feel like I'm wearing a scarf, like those cool, weird art teacher type people, but I don't feel old enough to be that yet, but I totally am, and also, what does age have to do with it? So, life. Alright, this view is really weird. It's mostly my dusty steering wheel, and... Oh, that's actually sage. Just a little sage sprinkles. Well, whatever. It's 2 out of 2. This won't even be good. It's just a love song. I mean, but it's like a weird journeying love song. Maybe it's worth playing. I mean, I feel inspired to play it rather than try to write something. Trying to find my tune so you don't have to listen to it all out of tune. I don't know. I want to say my usual thing. Be you, be you, be you. And I do believe that. Be you. And if you is too angry at God or too angry at Christians, that's where my anger was. Or too angry at hypocrisy, that's where a lot of my anger was. I loved my nun grandma, but I didn't believe in God at the time. And I was so angry. Oh my gosh. Oh, and what she told me, this was in the midst of my trauma healing, and it was some of the worst topics I had ever dealt with. And the therapists I was working with were terrible, toxic, manipulative. And I tried a couple. And I had had one good one, so I knew what a good one felt like, but my insurance didn't cover her. And anyway, going through all that and telling my sweet nun grandma that I am just anger, I am made of anger, I am throbbing full anger. There is no other thing that I am. And I finally found myself, and I'm so pissed that I wasted my life being someone else because now I know who I am. And she, to me, that was like my power. It was so clear. Anyway, she said that your anger is not something that you are. It's just something that you have to move through. I seriously almost killed myself back then because the anger was so intense. Anger at God, but also anger at things that had happened. So I'm very grateful that I hung on. I felt feelings that were pretty heavy and dark again in 2014 when I thought it wasn't going to work out with my new relationship and I didn't know where to go. And so that whole year I wrote a lot of songs. Me and Brian were a very like tiptoe into a relationship kind of couple. So 2014, we didn't spend nearly as much time together as I would have liked for trying to, find a new ship to board and a new person to believe in. I was staying in Michigan pretty much just for him and a little bit the music scene. And so 2014, those songs, the ones that'll be on this next studio album, Everything's True. They're heavy and they're intense and they're about dark and light and the nature of the universe and how to have humongous feelings in your skin and still function. They're about feeling like you're floating off, wanting to die, floating off in the sky, but instead deciding to come down from the sky and try another relationship and put your heart out there. And thankfully Brian was a great one, but I was terrified. So yeah, anyway, this is the last song on that album. It's called Boat, Plane, Bear, parentheses, the traveling song. Did I finish tuning? It sounds weird. No? Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3. You and me traveled by boat, didn't have a hard time staying afloat, because we could rhyme things that other people couldn't say. And we weren't afraid. We weren't afraid. You and me traveled by plane. We didn't have a hard time staying in air, because we could rhyme things the people didn't know could go together. 'Cause we took the time to learn which things could rhyme. You and me traveled by bear, with barely a care in how we would climb things or how we'd get there, because we could see the patterns, because we could see, because we could see, because we could see the marks on the tree, clawing up things that came before. We could see, we could see how things could be. Oh, 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 There you go. That's my gift to you. Oh, my first stickers I ever had printed. I really, really, really hope you're okay. Can't save the world, but I can focus one person at a time, and I can share my honest heart. And that's how YouTube can be useful, I suppose, because I can share my honest heart, and it's faster than helping one person at a time. But it's only worthwhile and only useful if I share my honest heart, and I've been hiding it because that's what I do. Because I don't want you to not like me because I believe in God, or I don't want you to not like me because I'm super weird. Both subjects, separate groups of people, you know? At the end of the day, I'm not going to be liked by everyone. I'm probably not going to be totally liked by most anyone. And I'm trying to change my mind on what being liked even is. Like, is a mom very liked when she's being hard on her kids? Is a piano teacher very liked when she's letting someone know that their lack of practice is not serving their hopes and dreams? I was going to say goals, but it's like hopes and dreams. If you dream to be like me piano-wise, like, this is what it takes to get there. And if you're doing this work, like, I'm actually doing you not only a disservice, I'm like straight up lying to you if I act like that's okay. If you also simultaneously tell me that being like me is your dream, piano-wise, or anything-wise. If you want to be like me, be like me. But certain things take work. They take study. Like, I read and wrote all of the exercises out for The Artist's Way. I've done a 12-step. I've done a 200-page 4th step in the 12-step world. If you've never looked at your resentments, you probably won't relate to a lot of this. I'm not saying go join a 12-step group, but if you want to, there's ones on almost every topic. Overeating, deading. But there's problems and ways you may pick up lots of energy inside those groups, just like I did. I picked up a lot of problems while I was looking for solutions. And that doesn't mean don't keep looking, but, you know, there's help out there. But yeah, I've done Wishcraft. That's a book that helps you follow your path and find your dreams. That I did like 20 years ago. The Right to Write. Did I say that one? I've done like every writing exercise in that book by Julia Cameron. Yeah. If you feel attracted to wisdom in others who are older than you, or who have lived more rich experiences than you, or who have just dealt with and confronted their trauma and drama more than you have, like what's her name? I just thought Byron Katie, I think is her name. The Work, that's another one I tried. I did something called Food Addicts Boot Camp, and there were tons of questions we had to constantly answer. I've done e-diets, same thing. Oh my gosh, I'm falling down a rabbit hole of listing things. You know, go to the self-realization, self-actualization, whatever section of a Barnes & Noble, and you'll find a million suggestions. The Power of Now, Pema Chodron, Tao Te Ching, like studying, applying to my life. Like, it's so much. You can do this too. You can do hard things. I'm using a therapy app lately called Bloom. It's very useful. Yeah. But if you're attracted to wisdom, specifically experiential wisdom, self-generated wisdom, if you're attracted to people like, oh, that butterfly looked like a leaf, but it kept blowing back up, and finally I noticed it was a butterfly. If you're attracted to people like Brene Brown, Elizabeth Gilbert, Julia Cameron, Eckhart Tolle, any people who talk like they're either in recovery or who are trying to grow and learn, then become like them by doing the work that they're doing. Practicing piano. This just landed on my dash. Hi, leaf. I don't know. You don't have to do anything you don't want to do, but there's always hope and there's always more to do. Or you could just do, you know, the shortcut. But if you're not attracted to this, ignore me. Plug your ears. But you could just say the Lord's Prayer and literally ask for, like, you know, a born-again experience. And you could read the Bible. And, like, that's the promise of the New Testament, is that all this other stuff is just extending your timeline. You know, you think you need all these millions of things whether they're external things or whether they're internal experiences to fix you. It's like, well, the Bible pretty much says, no, you just need God. And that's it. That and done. Damn. Like, and I very much believe that. It's like a feeling of protection and a feeling of friendship. It is a feeling of guidance, though. And so if you're not someone who wants to feel humble and small and guided, and you want to hold on to or focus on your own power and autonomy, then you might not be in a place where that's going to be helpful for you. I don't know. I can't say. But things like 12-step groups, they talk about a higher power, but they don't use the word God usually. And so a higher power, for some people, they're talking about God. And they say it. They'll say God. But the next person will just say higher power. Some people will say this meeting is my higher power. Or this book is my higher power. Because I trust that its wisdom is better than mine on X, Y, or Z topic. Like not drinking or something. I need to go. I'm sick of the gunshots. All right. And also, it's time to go. It's the end of that video. Goodbye. Thanks for watching.